Okay, hello. So today I am going to experiment for the very first time on my drum carder, taking a comb top braid that's been hand dyed and carding it up to see how it spins compared to just spinning comb top. So I often spin comb top braids, especially from my Canadian dyers that I love so much. I often spin them worsted spun, which is kind of like compressing the air out of them. Gets a really nice, smooth, consistent yarn. But I want to see if I can use the drum carder to add more air, make it more of a lofty woolen prep. So that I can spin it a little more woolen style. It won't be true woolen because, again, this is comb top. But here it is. So I'm going to take this one from Myrtle Yarn. This one is Cormo, 100% Cormo, non-superwash. Her color is called Incognito. She's based in Vancouver, British Columbia. So when I ordered from her, I ordered a couple braids that are kind of tonal braids, I would call it. Like they're mostly the same color. It's not a huge variation of color because when you blend a bunch of colors together, it can really muddy up the colors. So I got a couple braids like this with the purpose of actually using them for this exact experiment. So I'm pretty excited. Again, I am not a professional carder by any means. So I am not doing this as a tutorial. I'm doing this as an experiment and checking out how this process will go. So I'm just going to open the braid up here. This isn't like a nice little pull braid unless I just did something wrong. I think it's actually, she actually braids it. That's kind of cool. But I do miss the aesthetic of the pull. And I think I'm kind of whacking the camera stand. As I say all the time, we get low production value and hopefully high quality content. Otherwise, there's no way I'm going to sit and actually edit these videos and get them out to you. So I do love Cormo. It's one of my favorites to spin. All right, there we go. So now I've got this out. And I have no plan really, aside from just kind of pulling it a little bit open and trying it on the carder and seeing if, I'm not sure in my mind with this top, and Cormo might be a good example of it because it may not be super aligned. But you can see how the fibers are organized pretty much in line like this. I'm interested to see how it will work if I just kind of open it up and feed it in like this. But also I may pull some parts, some staples out and put them in sideways so that they kind of get a little more chaotic on the drum carder. So I'm just going to pull a chunk off here. I'm not going to try to put the colors in any specific spot or order or anything. I'm just going to go in and give it a try. I did find that actually, pulling the staples out and spreading them in kind of this chaotic way is, I feel like this is what I want to try. Just to see how lofty I can get it to be, knowing it's going to really blend the colors. So let's just start with just this thin little array and see. Someone said I can try going a little slower in my first pass. This is why I've been loving putting it on YouTube, so that people can share their knowledge. It's so much easier when you can actually see someone doing something, I think, to help share the knowledge and give tips and tricks, especially for something. I find this to be a highly visual, hard to describe sometimes process. And again, I have no idea how this is going to end up, but basically, for the first pass, at least for now, I'm going to start just like this. And then I'll come back when I either, slower, that's right. When I either change my mind about it or I'm done the first pass. Okay, so here is first pass. And honestly, I think it's pretty beautiful. What I basically ended up doing with this one was just sort of ripping off from the staple into like just a little random cloud. And I remember that I only want to do like 25 grams at a time. So I've only done 25 grams of it. What I think I'm going to do is just fold this up, set it aside. And then I'll do maybe try different ways and see how the difference is. Use this as a chance for that. I'll try different ways of sort of loading it on. But then in the end, what I think I should do if I want the color to be generally uniform, which I'd like to have it, maybe, I may strip the bats and take sections from each to make individual bats to actually spin up if I want consistency. So here is the first one. This one was done with sort of making little random clouds. I'm going to set it there. And then I think the next thing I'm going to try, and I love that I forgot that I don't want to do 100 grams at a time or anything. So let's see. That's about 20. I'm doing around 25. I didn't weigh the whole thing beforehand. But yeah, what I think I'm going to do with this one is just open it and feed it and see how that differs. So instead of ripping it into little clouds, I'm just going to open it up like this. Try not to pull on it. I know tension is definitely something that a lot of people have said that'll help me keep the liquor nice and clean, which is this drum, if I'm not pulling too much on that. Let's do it again. I feel like this is going to not blend the colors as much. Whereas the other one, I was really just pulling every teeny tiny piece apart into a big cloud that was mixed and matched. A little bit too close to the edge there. I'm just going to pull this up. And zip it on back through in the middle. All right, I'm going to finish this one and come back. Okay, so here is that bat. I don't notice any difference. It's really looking gray in the camera, but trust me, it's a blue. But I don't notice a difference in the style, which is just good to know. I was curious. Again, I'm going to leave this at one pass. And then try another technique for the next 25 grams, which should just be roughly half of this. I think the next one I'm going to try is painting it on. So instead of feeding it through the bottom, paint it on, which I see people do so often on socials. And some people I never see them do it any other way. But what this means is I'm going to turn the drum and put the fiber like that. Let me see if I can adjust this. Okay, so we're a little higher up, but I don't know if they normally break it down. I'm just gonna try it. So as it turns, I just kind of do this. Oh. And now I'm shaking because I'm trying to I don't have my drum carder clamped down. So I feel like this is going kind of smooth, but sometimes when it gets too much, it's kind of getting grabby, and then it pulls. And I've got to use my body. My body's in the front here trying to hold the carder down. I can't even tell how much I'm getting on because it's so similar to the color of the drum cloth. Oh yeah, I'm feeding very little in at a time. So I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm just going to keep going back and forth. Maybe I'll do a little bit more on camera. And just for fun, do that. It's definitely fun to do this. But, I mean, in my mind, and the liquor is helping to, you know, get out little nets, which are little like balls of, or shortcuts, of fiber, and I feel like we're bypassing that. So this might not be adding the kind of loft that I would be looking for as much. It may just not be adding as much air in. Ooh, you can see the darker bits there. That's kind of cool. Okay, I'm going to finish this one off and we'll take a look. Okay, so here is that blend. Again, I do feel like there are some differences. Like you can actually see a little bit of VM. You can see the areas that are a little bit darker in this one. So I think it did help maintain the color palette a little bit more, which is interesting. It's not something that I'm looking for in this one. Feeling wise, I don't get the sense. It looks the same, but I don't feel it feeling as lofty. I think I was right that it feels a little more sort of constrained. Feels like it's more similar still to comb top. So you can actually see like the richness of the color is stayed. So I think painting is a good way, which is when you do it that way, is a good way to keep it on the drum, to keep the colors intact. But I don't think that it's a good way to feed it in. I also really didn't enjoy feeding it in that way. I know I'm kind of rambling, but I did not enjoy the action of like holding it up here. Maybe I should have broken it off into smaller bits to hold on. But yeah, and then holding the little ends and like letting them go. I didn't like that. So that was not an enjoyable feel for me. I'm seeing there's some pieces that aren't really blended into. And so for the last one, I'm trying to think if there's like one last way to do it before I start stripping them and putting them in all together. Is there a different way? No, I don't think so. I think I'm going to do what I did the first time, which is, again, breaking off kind of like staple at a time. And then I was just going like this. I do feel like this is the way to make it the floofiest, if you will. That's for sure a real word. And it looks nice. It kind of looks like pin drafted roving almost. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this for the last one. And then I will show you each one sort of side by side and we can take a look. Okay, and here's the final bat. Again, looks more gray in here, but it's definitely blue. You can see little hints of the darker vibes. I'm kind of debating not blending them together just because I kind of like there being some little hints of color. But that said, let's look at all the bats together. Okay, so here they all are in order. So this was the first one where I pulled staples out and made little clouds, trying to get it sort of chaotic onto the Carter. This one was the one where I just sort of opened it up and fed it in as one big strip. I wasn't pulling apart staples or anything. This is the one where I painted it on to the top drum, which I've heard people call a swift. I'm not 100% on that because a swift is obviously a different word when it comes to hanking yarn. And then this was the last one, which I did the same technique as the first one. Interestingly, I think this one just had more of the darker color in the braid that came through. But because they're all a little bit different, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip them into strips and I'm going to combine strips from each of them. I think I'm going to do each one into 3 strips or some sort of permutation of that. And then card it up. Instead of going from 4 bats, I'm going to go into 3 because I think I'm going to try to do a 3 ply. So that way I have 1 bat per ply. So I'm going to do that, probably do a little bit of weighing, and then I will show you the finished 3 bats. Okay, we've got our 3 beautiful, big, puffy, fluffy bats that I'm just going to I haven't found a nice way to kind of fold them up and make them look pretty yet. I've been more focused on just trying to figure out how the heck to make them in the first place. I don't know. Is that nice? Maybe that's nice. But yeah, I'm going to spin these up and I will put them in a short. And I've been kind of tucking them all in the same playlist so that hopefully if you just go to the playlist, which is the this or that playlist, or this to that, I guess it's called, then we'll be able to see this. I'm going to hope for that it's a nice lofty woolen spun 3-ply. It's going to take me a while because I don't have a lot of spinning time these days, but I'm loving how big and floofy this became out of one tight little braid. Let's see what this will look like. There we go. It's beautiful. It's uniform in color. It's Cormo, and I am excited. All right. Have a good one, everyone.